working for your mom. Not much gets past the Sweet Magnolias, and in this case, they all knew what was going on the instant Maddie found out Ty had to have surgery. Which begs the question, Annie said bitterly. Why didn't anyone think I had a right to know? A thought suddenly struck her. That's where Maddie went a couple of weeks ago, isn't it? She went to be with Ty when he had his surgery. Eric nodded. Look, it's not about you deserving to know, he said reasonably. You've been pretty touchy about anything to do with Ty for quite a while now. Nobody's known quite how to handle it. Okay, that was fair. In fact, Annie totally understood the dilemma. She and Ty had been together on a casual basis during her senior year in high school, and for a couple of years after that. Since their mothers, Dana Sue and Maddie, were best friends, she and Ty had been friends forever as well. The ties binding them had been tight on many levels. And then it had all unraveled. Annie supposed the breakup had been as inevitable as the fact that they'd fallen in love in the first place. After all, a superstar professional athlete had beautiful women falling at his feet in every city. How was Annie, the quiet, hometown girl struggling every day to beat an eating disorder, supposed to compete with that? Especially when she was still in college. The official disintegration of their relationship had dragged out over an entire year, partly because neither of them had known how to dash all those parental expectations that they'd marry and live happily ever after. For months, they'd seen the handwriting on the wall, but they'd both been in denial. When tensions had been running especially high, they'd tried to avoid coming back to serenity at the same time. On the rare occasions when family get-togethers couldn't be avoided, they'd tried to deal with the awkwardness with carefully orchestrated, polite indifference. They'd both understood how a bitter split could potentially damage the lifelong friendship between their mothers, and they'd wanted to avoid inflicting that kind of collateral damage. At least they'd agreed on that much. Of course, all of that was before the real damage had been done, before Ty's infidelity had become public knowledge in the worst possible way. After that, all bets had been off. There'd been no more pretense that things had ended amicably. Fortunately, neither her mom nor Ty's had asked too many questions once the facts were out there. It went beyond sensitivity. Annie suspected Dana Sue and Maddie had made a pact years earlier to leave the two of them alone. Goodness knew the Sweet Magnolias, as Dana Sue and Maddie and Helen had been known since high school, meddled in everyone else's lives. But over the years, they'd barely mentioned Ty in Annie's presence or her to him. More recently, the silence had been deafening. Annie supposed their current avoidance of the subject was part of the same old pattern, though she was in no mood to cut them any slack this time. Didn't they think she'd care that Ty had sustained a serious injury? Didn't they know what it would do to her for him to be right back here, in her face every single day? Couldn't they at least have warned her? As she stared out the door, Eric tried once more to stop her. Wait, he commanded. Come on, Annie. If you won't talk to your mother, talk to me. I swear I'll just listen. You can rant and rave all you want. She regarded him with a bleak expression. There's nothing to say. Ty had as much right to come home to serenity as she did, even if it would turn her life upside down. Where are you going? She shook her head. She honestly didn't know. Not to work, that was for sure. She worked at the corner spa owned by her mom, Helen, and Ty's mom. Maddie, in fact, ran it. Annie didn't want to face her right now either. Though they both tried, it had been awkward between them ever since the breakup. Now it would be 1,000 times worse. She wasn't sure she could bear another of Maddie's pitying looks. Ironically, Annie worked at the spa as a sports injury therapist and personal trainer.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.